On that unforgettable night in 1987, when James Brown took the stage, 29-year-old Prince's heart was racing. The godfather of soul had invited the evening's surprise guests onto the stage, Prince and Michael Jackson. This was the legendary moment when music history's three greatest performers shared the same stage. Prince had no idea that night that James Brown's behavior in the performance philosophy he would observe in the following period would forever shape his own stage evolution. While Michael Jackson danced comfortably, Prince stood silently, but the truly transformative experience would come from watching Brown after the performance. If this story matters to you, don't forget to subscribe right now so you won't miss what happens next. The real impact of that night actually began after the stage performance. Prince felt unhappy and inadequate after experiencing that strange moment on James Brown's stage. While Michael Jackson danced comfortably during the moonwalk attempt, Prince had stood silently and perceived this as a personal failure. This moment had further inflamed Prince's secret rivalry with Michael Jackson. Despite Purple Rain's worldwide success, Jackson's naturalness against his own tension that night had deeply disturbed him. That 1987 stage moment was actually when Prince's rivalry with Michael Jackson became most visible. When the two superstars shared the same stage, Jackson's relaxed and confident demeanor had wounded Prince's ego, which he was accustomed to controlling. Prince was always used to being the absolute master of the stage, but that night he felt like a secondary figure on Brown's stage. This experience pushed him not only to study James Brown's techniques, but also to deepen his obsession with surpassing Michael Jackson. Prince's controlling personality couldn't digest this situation. Normally micromanaging every detail, giving individual instructions to his orchestra, Prince had become part of a stage under someone else's control that night. Jackson's comfort with this situation had hurt Prince's pride. In the following days, Prince constantly replayed this moment in his mind, calculating how he could have reacted better. This competitive feeling also affected how Prince observed James Brown. While watching Brown, he wasn't just looking for stage techniques, but also methods to control Michael Jackson. Brown's bringing both of them on stage and ultimately leaving Prince in the background caused Prince to examine Brown's authority techniques more closely. The goal wasn't just to learn, but to discover tools that could establish superiority over Jackson. In the months following 1987, Prince began watching James Brown's concerts with different eyes. This wasn't just being a fan, but a professional analysis process. Brown's control on stage, his connection with the crowd, and his performance energy never dropping fascinated Prince. Even during the Purple Rain tours, Prince was comparing his own performances with Brown's approach, trying to identify his shortcomings. James Brown's influence on Prince manifested in three fundamental areas: stage mastery, musical authority, and performance philosophy. This influence process began to be clearly seen in Prince's post-1987 concerts. During the Sign of the Times tour, there were significant changes in Prince's stage energy, crowd control, and performance style. Music critics had noticed this change and wrote that Prince had become a more mature and controlling performer. In the post-1987 period, Prince began analyzing the details of James Brown's stage approach while watching his concerts. Brown's preparation rituals before taking the stage, his orchestra control during performance, and the energy connection he established with the crowd had become sources of lessons for Prince. This wasn't about imitation, but learning to adapt to his own style. The first striking feature of Brown's stage performances was his absolute control over the orchestra. With a single gesture, all musicians moved simultaneously, following Brown's energy. Prince sometimes struggled to achieve this control when working with his own orchestra, unable to establish complete synchronization with the musicians. Brown's authority wasn't just musical, it was charismatic. Prince began thinking about how he could develop this charisma. Brown's energy management on stage had also influenced Prince. Despite being in his 50s, Brown danced for hours and never appeared tired. This wasn't just a matter of physical conditioning, it was energy economics. Brown knew very well when to intensify energy and when to rest. Prince sometimes expended too much energy at the beginning of his concerts and got tired toward the end. Brown's approach was more strategic. Brown's approach to crowd control was also unique. He wasn't just making music, he was managing the crowd's mood. He would excite them, calm them down, excite them again, acting like an emotion manager. Prince wondered how he could establish this control. In his own concerts, he could feel crowd reactions but couldn't fully direct them. In the 1988 Lovesexy tour, Brown's influence began to be clearly seen in Prince's stage performances. Orchestra control became tighter, energy management more strategic, and crowd interaction more managerial. Music critics interpreted this change as Prince reaching stage maturity. Rolling Stone magazine wrote that Prince was now not just a talented musician, but a true performance master. James Brown's second major influence on Prince was in the area of musical authority. Brown was the absolute controller of his own music. He determined everything from which notes would be played to which rhythms would be used. This approach caused Prince to rethink his own creative processes. Before 1987, Prince displayed a more collaborative approach, taking his musicians' ideas and developing songs together with them. After watching Brown, Prince's studio working style began to change. He began to display a more controlled, more directive approach. This change was clearly felt in the Sign of the Times album. Prince now managed in more detail how each instrument would be played, how each vocal would be sung. This control obsession would deepen in the following years, and musicians working at Paisley Park Studios would speak of Prince's micromanagement style. Brown's musical authority manifested not only in the studio, but also in stage performances. In live performances, how long each song would last, which solos would be played, which sections would be repeated were completely dependent on Brown's decisions at that moment. Prince began adapting this flexibility and control to his own concerts. In post-1988 concerts, Prince's set list became more flexible, able to make changes according to his current mood and crowd energy. This musical authority approach was also influential in Prince's later disputes with Warner Brothers. The indispensability of creative control approach he learned from Brown played a role in Prince's unwillingness to lose control over his own music. Writing "Slave on His Face" in 1993 was also a reflection of this quest for musical authority. James Brown's third influence on Prince was in performance discipline. The perfectionism Brown showed in his rehearsals and concerts had influenced Prince. Brown's standards expected from orchestra members were very high. He wouldn't tolerate even a single wrong note. This approach caused Prince to question his own work ethic. Before 1987, Prince displayed a talented but sometimes scattered working style. He worked for hours in the studio but wasn't always systematic. After observing Brown, Prince's work discipline began to change. He began implementing more structured working hours, more detailed rehearsals, and higher standards at Paisley Park Studios. Brown's performance discipline wasn't limited to music. He controlled every detail from stage costumes to dance moves, from sound systems to lighting arrangements. Prince, influenced by this approach, began displaying similar perfectionism in his own concerts. In concerts after the Purple Rain film, stage design, costume details, and technical arrangements became much more sophisticated. This disciplined understanding also shaped Prince's working routine in the following years. Prince's working 20 hours a day in the 1990s, constantly producing new projects and never resting, was an extreme version of the work ethic he learned from Brown. Susan Rogers had observed this change in Prince's studio working style and commented that post-1987, Prince became more obsessive, but at the same time more productive. In the 1990s, Prince's process of being influenced by James Brown deepened further. During this period, Prince began examining not only performance techniques, but also Brown's position in the music industry. Brown's establishing his own record company, keeping control of his music, and industrial independence served as an example for Prince. Brown's attitude during Prince's crisis with Warner Bros. In 1993 was important. Brown had indirectly supported Prince during that period, making statements that the artist should be the master of his own music. This support had been morale boosting for Prince because seeing the understanding of a legend like Brown strengthened his belief in the correctness of his decisions. During this period, funk elements began to become more prominent in Prince's music. In albums like Come and Emancipation, the influences of Brown's funk approach could be clearly heard. Prince was now integrating not only pop and rock, but also the purer forms of funk into his music. This musical evolution had been shaped by Brown's influence. By the end of the 1990s, Brown covers also began to appear in Prince's concerts. He was interpreting Brown classics like I Got You, I Feel Good, and Get Up, I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine in his own style, making these songs part of his own repertoire. This wasn't just showing respect, it was combining Brown's musical legacy with his own vision. In the 2000s, Prince's process of being influenced by James Brown transformed into a matured synthesis. Instead of imitating Brown, he could now blend what he learned from him with his own unique style. During this period, Brown's stage philosophy had been completely internalized in Prince's concerts. Crowd control, energy management, and performance discipline had now become part of Prince's natural behaviors. His While My Guitar Gently Weeps performance at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004 was the pinnacle of what he learned from Brown. In that performance, Prince's stage mastery, musical authority, and performance intensity were a perfect synthesis of Brown's teachings. Throwing his guitar into the air and leaving the stage was also inspired by Brown's theatrical exits. The 2007 Super Bowl performance was another example of Brown's influence. In that legendary performance he gave in the rain, Prince's crowd control and energy management were masterful use of the techniques he learned from Brown. The calmness and control he showed while playing Purple Rain in the Rain was a reflection of Brown's philosophy of turning every situation to his advantage. During this period, Prince's way of working with young musicians was also influenced by Brown. His attitude toward young artists working at Paisley Park resembled the tough but fair approach Brown showed toward his own orchestra. He expected high standards, pushed for perfection, but also contributed to their development. James Brown's death in December 2006 deeply affected Prince. Prince, who attended Brown's funeral, bid farewell to his mentor by playing I Got You, I Feel Good. This performance wasn't just a farewell, it was a summary of what he learned from Brown. When Prince took the stage that day, he once again displayed Brown's stage philosophy, energy management, and performance discipline. After Brown's death, Prince spoke about his influence in several interviews. James Brown taught me how to control the stage, Prince would say, but more importantly, he showed that music isn't just sound, it's energy. These words showed how deep Brown's influence on Prince was. In 2007, Prince organized a special concert in memory of James Brown. In this concert, he played entirely Brown classics and displayed his performance style with his own interpretation. At the end of the concert, Prince said, "Tonight, James Brown's spirit was on this stage." This concert also showed how much Prince had internalized what he learned from Brown. After Prince's death in 2016, when music critics analyzed his career, they emphasized James Brown's influence as an important factor. Rolling Stone magazine commented that there's a direct connection between Prince's power in stage performances and Brown's teachings. This assessment showed Brown's lasting influence on Prince. In Prince's studio at Paisley Park, a photograph of James Brown still hung on the wall. Under this photograph was a note written in Prince's handwriting. "Godfather taught me." This detail showed Brown's special place in Prince's life. Prince remembered and respected Brown as a mentor until the end of his life. When we listen to Prince's musical legacy today, we can still hear James Brown's influences. The authority in stage performances, musical control obsession, and performance perfectionism were reflections of lessons learned from Brown. These influences weren't just technical, they were philosophical. Prince maintained the music is energy approach he learned from Brown until the end of his life. Brown's influence was also visible in the advice Prince gave to young musicians. Be the master when you take the stage, be a perfectionist when working in the studio, be original in your music, Prince would say. These three principles were actually a summary of the lessons he learned from Brown. James Brown's stage performance in 1987 wasn't just one night, it was a turning point that shaped Prince's entire life. Today, it's possible to follow the traces of James Brown's influence on Prince in the popular music scene. Seeing Brown's energy management techniques in Bruno Mars's stage performances, noticing Prince's approach in Justin Timberlake's way of integrating funk elements into pop music, or feeling the influence of both legends in Beyoncé's crowd control at concerts isn't coincidental. These artists have clearly stated in interviews that they were directly influenced by Brown and Prince. The Weeknd's funk rhythms in Can't Feel My Face, Anderson .Peck's stage energy, or Janelle Monáe's theatrical performances are also continuations of this tradition. This influence chain in the music industry shows how fundamental a change Brown's approach to Prince in 1987 created. Each generation adapts and carries this legacy forward in their own style. Visitors to Prince's Paisley Park complex on guided tours can still see references to James Brown on the studio walls. Particularly in the main recording studio's sound system, there are equipment specially adjusted to the bass frequencies Brown preferred. These details show how deeply Prince applied what he learned from Brown. Among the tapes in Paisley Park's archive section are Brown cover recordings Prince made in the 1990s. These recordings aren't public, but music historians agree that they were part of Prince's process of understanding Brown. Prince's version of Get Up, I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine is particularly noteworthy because it has a completely different arrangement from the original, but preserves Brown's energy philosophy. At prestigious music schools like Berklee College of Music and Juilliard, approaches called Brown-Prince Performance Method have entered the curriculum. In these classes, students are taught stage mastery, crowd interaction, and performance energy management. Instructors present Brown's influence on Prince as an example of successful mentorship. In music production courses in Nashville, Brown's studio discipline approach is also referenced. Prince's post-1987 recording techniques, studio organization, and musician management style are still used as case studies in modern production education. These academic approaches show how deep Brown's influence was not only artistically, but also technically. Those emerging from the musicians Prince mentored at Paisley Park continue the Brown-Prince tradition in their own careers today. It's possible to hear this influence in the music of artists like Leanne LaHavas, FKA Twigs, and Thundercat. They also pass the same approaches to young musicians, so this musical philosophy continues to live across generations. Even in the streaming age, the validity of what Brown and Prince taught continues. In Spotify playlists, James Brown and Prince songs appear side by side in the Funk Masters category. New listeners discover the connection between these two legends. Many of the dance trends that go viral on TikTok are actually modern versions of Brown's iconic moves, inspired by Prince's stage personality. This story contains lessons valid not only in the music world, but in all areas of life. Managers who mentor young employees in business life find many things they can learn from the approach Brown showed to Prince. The balance of respect and authority, the art of maintaining perfectionism without being destructive, and most importantly, the ability to see others' potential and develop them. These aren't exclusive to performing arts. There are similar examples in the sports world. Phil Jackson's influence on Michael Jordan in basketball, Sir Alex Ferguson's style of developing young talents in football, even Garry Kasparov's approach to his students in the chess world, all show traces of the mentor approach Brown showed to Prince. These universal teaching and learning dynamics form the building blocks of achieving superior success in every field. Today, music instructors on Instagram, production channels on YouTube, industry conversations on Clubhouse, all are modern reflections of the Brown-Prince dynamic. Young artists can now learn from their mentors without being physically together. But what's truly valuable is still that deep personal bond and mutual respect. While technology tools change, the basic principles of mentorship remain the same. Prince's own social media approach was also interesting. In his final years, he showed very limited online activity, but tried to continue his interactions with young musicians on digital platforms as well. He tried to apply the supporting the new generation approach he learned from Brown with modern tools. There are academic studies researching the healing effects of Brown and Prince's music in modern music therapy studies. Particularly, Brown's energetic rhythms are used in Parkinson's disease rehabilitation, while Prince's melodic approaches are used in depression treatments. These therapeutic applications scientifically prove the universal healing power in both legends' music. The approaches called Brown-Prince method in music schools are used not only for performance techniques, but also for developing students' self-confidence and bringing out their creativity. These methods are based on the philosophy that music isn't just sound, but a holistic life experience. The influences of Brown and Prince weren't limited to American music. The children of Afrobeat's father, Fela Kuti, Seun, and Femi Kuti, clearly state that their father was influenced by Brown, and this influence passed to them as well. Funk karaoke artists in Brazil, electronic funk producers in France, J-funk musicians in Japan, all blend the Brown-Prince tradition with their own cultural codes. This global spread is the most beautiful proof that music is a universal language. This influence crossing language, cultural, and geographical boundaries shows how fundamental a change Brown's teachings to Prince created. Today, while virtual concerts, hologram technology, and interactive performances transform the music industry, Brown and Prince's stage philosophy still maintains its validity. During the COVID-19 pandemic, musicians broadcasting live from their homes applied Brown's energy transfer principles while seeking ways to connect with listeners on the other side of the screen, even without a crowd. They understood that even in front of a camera lens, that stage mastery and authority needed to be displayed. Prince's exclusive broadcasts on the Tidal platform in recent years were also adaptations of this approach to the digital age. Although streaming technology was different, the energy bond established with listeners and insistence on performance quality remained the same. Now musicians have to display the discipline Brown taught and the perfectionism Prince showed even on Instagram Live. Modern music education also benefits from the Brown-Prince tradition. On online masterclass platforms, Grammy-winning producers prepare courses referencing these two legends' approaches. Hans Zimmer's film music course features Brown's rhythm discipline, Alicia Keys's songwriting education examples, Prince's melodic approach. Millions of students worldwide can access these teachings on these platforms. Performance psychology classes are now standard curriculum parts in music conservatories. In these classes, while teaching stage fright, crowd interaction, and performance energy management, Brown and Prince's techniques are used as case studies. Students analyze videos of these two legends, learning how to apply them to their own performances. Recent neuroscience research reveals the scientific foundations of Brown and Prince's stage approaches. Brain imaging technologies show how rhythmic music triggers dopamine and endorphin release. The effects of Brown's funk rhythms and Prince's melodic structures on the brain are measured in laboratory environments. These scientific findings prove how effective the performance techniques these two legends intuitively discovered were. Studies conducted at Stanford University's Music and Brain program researched the effects of Brown's energy management techniques on performer-audience brain synchronization. According to these research findings, Brown's stage approach is valuable not only for entertainment but also for neuroplasticity and cognitive enhancement. Brown and Prince's music wasn't just entertainment but also an instrument of social change. Brown's Say It Loud, I'm Black and Proud song played an important role in the civil rights movement. Prince's androgynous image also started social discussions questioning gender norms. This social impact continues today. Brown's songs are still used in the Black Lives Matter movement. Prince's legacy is kept alive in the LGBTQ+ community. Modern activist musicians like Kendrick Lamar, Solange, Frank Ocean also combine the Brown-Prince tradition with social messages. They see music not just as art, but as a tool for creating social awareness. This approach is a continuation of Brown's social leadership role and Prince's struggle for identity freedom. After that stage moment in 1987, dynamics between artists in the music industry also began to change. The stage authority approach Prince learned from Brown influenced hip-hop artists' performance styles in the 1990s. Rappers like Jay-Z, Nas, and Eminem adapted Brown's energy control techniques in their stage performances. This adaptation wasn't coincidental. They had learned these techniques by watching Prince's concerts in the late 1980s. Music videos also got their share of this influence during MTV's golden age. The authority in front of camera approach Prince learned from Brown shaped the iconic music videos of the 1990s. From Madonna's Vogue video to Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit clip, the Brown-Prince influence could be seen in artists' attitudes in front of the camera. During this period, video directors began advising artists to be the master of the stage. Music production techniques were also affected by this interaction. In Prince's post-1987 albums, the rhythm section approaches Brown favored using became more prominent. Producers like Dr. Dre, Timbaland, and Pharrell Williams integrated these techniques into hip-hop and R&B productions. When the father of funk, Brown's beats, met the master of Purple Rain, Prince's melodies, the resulting sound formed the DNA of 1990s music. The concert industry was also influenced by the Brown-Prince dynamic. In the late 1980s, developments in stage technology supported the total control approach Prince learned from Brown. Lighting systems, sound arrangements, and stage design were no longer just technical details, but became tools that reinforced the artist's authority. U2's Zoo TV tour, Pink Floyd's Division Bell tours, and Nine Inch Nails concerts were adaptations of this approach to rock music. The change in the arena rock concept also stemmed from this influence. The stage-centered universe approach Prince displayed in his Lovesexy tour influenced the mega concerts of the following decade. Beyoncé's Formation tour, Kanye West's St. Pablo tours, and Lady Gaga's Chromatica Ball concerts all carried this philosophy. There's only one authority on stage, and that's the performer. The creative control obsession Prince learned from James Brown also affected music industry contract structures. In the 1990s, young artists began demanding more advantageous contracts by taking Prince's struggle with Warner Brothers as an example. Master recording rights, creative control clauses, and profit sharing were accepted as concepts Prince pioneered. This change wasn't limited to superstars. Independent music labels also adopted the artist-centered approach in the Brown-Prince tradition. Labels like Sub Pop, Merge Records, and 4AD achieved success by giving their artists more creative freedom. This approach maintains its validity even in the Spotify age today. Record label executives now focus on discovering artists who can display Brown's authority approach while searching for the next Prince. In A&R departments, stage mastery moved to the top of evaluation criteria. This situation fundamentally changed the music industry's talent search methodology. This story showed the power of mentorship and the importance of intergenerational knowledge transfer in music. What Brown taught Prince wasn't just techniques, but a life philosophy. And this philosophy continues to live in Prince's music, continuing to inspire the next generation of musicians.